Good morning. Welcome to your Monday motivation. I'm so excited to pump you up for the week. And I have some lessons I learned from a very special weekend to share with you all. And I hope these insights are helpful or at least get you thinking a little bit. So I just came off of an extraordinary weekend with some old friends. I was at a wedding for one of my dear friends, Abby. Shout out to Abby, who I know from my life living in China. So we were roommates for about four years together there. And she is an artist. And that is sort of the lesson I want to talk about today, about being an artist and being a creative, because there were so many lessons that I walked away from this wedding that I think is really applicable to the entrepreneurial world, to you founders out there, because it just got me thinking a lot. And here's sort of the thing that I pondered. So a little bit more background on the wedding. So Abby and her partner, husband, Avery, are both artists. Now, Abby is like an artist of every shape and size. She does so much. She's a musician, a visual artist, like a crafter, but not like a crafter in sort of like the Wisconsin mom sense, like someone that just makes these extraordinary things, out of nothing. Like one memory I was remembering over the weekend was how one time Abby sewed together a dress, and she made it out of the packages of spicy peanuts that we used to eat in China from like the bodega there. So she loved them so much. And so here's the lesson here, right? So she made this dress out of peanut bags, and it was so funny, but it was just like done because she wanted to, and it brought her immense joy. And so here starts sort of the theme of this episode. So the wedding was all DIY, okay? Her and Avery is an artist in his own right, making sort of art out of foraged materials, like these extraordinary little pieces of these collected things like moss and rocks and other material and bones and sticks, and it's crazy, right? And so the wedding was really DIY. And I also should mention, because this is I think it's an interesting just anecdote, that this wedding was a queer wedding. It was very non-traditional, but still had some traditional elements. But in that respect, we were all encouraged to sort of not think about wearing what you would normally think to wear to a wedding. So in that sense, there was a lot of really fun outfits and glitter and glow sticks and temporary tattoos and all of these wonderful things, crowns and sparkles. But the wedding was all DIY. So they had foraged, right, all like chairs and tables for free, and they refurbished them, so painting them, but like done with a precision, an artistry, a perfection. Like they were perfect, like I'm not crafty at all, but like Lord knows I've tried to spray paint like a Salvation Army chair before, and it did not look nearly as beautiful as all of the pieces that they put together for the wedding, right? And so there was garland that they hand cut, like maybe 5,000 flowers and strung by hand, these like beautiful garlands. Like everything was done so beautifully. And at the end of the night, Abby's band like played a set, and as they were playing, of course I was really enjoying myself, but this thought I had to share with like everyone in my immediate vicinity at the time during the show was just, I often, as being like entrepreneur, founder, mentor, startup world, I'm so like goal oriented, right? Like we all are. If you're listening to this podcast, you're certainly goal oriented, right? And so for Abby's music, for her band, for example, like conversations I'm always curious about is like, well, what are the next steps? Like, how are you going to get more shows? You know, they put out an album. How are you going to market the album? Like, you know, really like, what's the goal of this? You know, like, how are you going to get to success with this, right? And what really like hit me over the head, like a ton of bricks over the weekend, was like doing things just for the joy of it, like without any outcome in mind. And it was like a very profound realization, because so much of Abby's life and this life that we stepped into over the weekend was witnessing this joy, like this joy of creation for the sake of creating. It reminds me a lot of Elizabeth Gilbert's book Big Magic, because being in an atmosphere where not just Abby and Avery, the couple, were like kind of living in this style, but so many of the people that joined the wedding, you know, like the other bandmates, for example, like they're not playing music to get paid or to be signed or to see anything. Like, you could just see the joy and the excitement and like the energy out of just like creating. And it was so inspiring. Like, you know, the wedding was held at Abby's house, and around her house there were just these pieces of art, like not for the goal of like, I saw this in a magazine, so I want to recreate this and make my house look a certain way. Like, there were these oversized like bugs, not real bugs, like crafted bugs that were like maybe like 3 feet long, that I had seen in her living room that were like crawling up the walls. They were like art pieces. And I just was like, that's just fabulous. You know, another thing was, you know, they had this garland, I said, that they fashioned, but one string of garland in particular was made out of heart-shaped packing peanuts. And Abby's like, oh, a couple months ago I got like a present packed in these packing peanuts, and I said I have to do something with it. So she like strung the garland. She created like this corner where the couple was like sitting behind their like chair, their like little, you know, the table for the couple. But it was shocking because it was just so foreign to me. And so I like to invite you or challenge you during these Monday motivations. And so I'm going to ask you to join me in challenging ourselves this week to do something like just for the joy of it. And maybe for you, it's not crafting or painting or anything, because that's certainly not it for me. Maybe it's like baking something. Or maybe it's like rearranging a room in your house. Or maybe it's fill in the blank, right? Maybe it's, I don't know, like rollerblading. Something that you maybe used to do when you were younger and just like haven't really done in a long time. I invite you to do that. And like with no expecting outcome. No pressure. And just have that experience. So I invite you to have that experience, because there is such like a beauty in that, and the energy and like bearing witness to like being in this environment full of just creation for the joy of it was like really, really inspiring. So I hope it has inspired you just a bit. And yep, I'll see you back here next week for the next dose of Monday motivation. Have a great week.